As is tradition, whenever a brand new battle shonen with its own unique gimmicks or spin on the usual formula, usually with how they write their characters and the type of story and themes they want to go for. But one of the most memorable aspects of any battle shonen is its power system. Practically every single battle shonen that isn't just straight up martial arts or a sports anime or some other non-battle battle anime that revolves around something else, a power system is the end-all be-all when it comes to the entertainment value and the progression of a story whenever you do a battle shonen. And Gachiakuta is no different, as the power system in this manga is, by all accounts, one of the more interesting and unique ones out there, especially for a new generation of battle shonen, as it also ties perfectly into the main themes that are presented within this series as well, which ends up strengthening the memorability of the power system itself. And since the manga is still ongoing, there could still be more layers to be added upon this current power system of Gachiakuta that won't be explored in this video, but perhaps in a separate video down the road when new information is added, as we are far from the end of Gachiakuta, and the anime at this point of recording is going to air within a month. But at this point, you're probably wondering what the name of this power system for Gachiakuta is, and that is the Vital Instruments, or in the Japanese, Jinki, which I actually find to be kind of a cooler, shorter abbreviation of the name, mainly because I started reading this manga through the fan translations before we got officials, but that's not the case right now. But the people who use these vital instruments have the title of givers, as givers are the only ones who are capable of using or creating vital instruments, which I will get into in a second. Before we dive into this full explanation and breakdown of the Gachiakuta power system known as vital instruments, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I've got a couple of video ideas for Gachiakuta to be released now that the anime is starting to come out, to help people better understand certain aspects of the series, so look forward to that. I've got a couple of those on the way. So let's just answer the very simple, basic question: what exactly is a vital instrument? Well, vital instruments are essentially regular, everyday objects, clothing, etc. That's how they all start out as, until they are grabbed and used by a giver. Givers are human beings that are capable of utilizing anima, a type of energy that flows on the ground. And this anima has two main purposes, one of which is it accumulates in mass within large areas of trash, and thus it ends up creating massive trash beasts, which are the monsters that our main group of characters, the cleaners, end up fighting throughout the course of Gachiakuta on the ground. But what we mainly see anima used for is for awakening vital instruments, or unleashing their powers. A giver is somebody who has awakened to the ability to utilize their own anima and pour it into an inanimate object, thus granting it an immense amount of power, causing it to transform into a variety of vital instruments. Now, this depends on the person, the item, their personality, and the most important aspect, the care that is put into the object. Because givers can't just pour anima into any old object if they do awaken to being a giver. No, they have to pour anima into an object that they themselves have a strong connection to. An item that they've taken care of for their entire lives or for a long period of time. That means a lot to them, that they have a connection with. And with that care towards that item, once they awaken into becoming a giver, that is when the vital instrument is activated. Now, there isn't a clear-cut way for a giver to be fully awakened or forced to be awakened. Many of the times it is due to a personal sense of growth or having strong care for an item, and in a high-stakes situation, you could awaken it into a vital instrument. But this all comes down to the anima that is flowing throughout the ground in Gachiakuta, or just the surface when it comes to Gachiakuta. And many humans on this place essentially are born with anima. It's just givers need to find a way to release their anima and learn how to pour it into an object. Now, there may be a possible way that we know of at this point in the manga up to the current chapters of someone awakening into a giver, but please skip to the timestamp up above so you don't get spoiled, because this is very, very recent manga stuff. So if you do not want to be spoiled on actual manga content that probably won't be adapted into the anime until I say season 2 or even 3, then please skip over to the timestamp on screen right now to avoid this massive spoiler, because I do not want to spoil shit for anime onlys. Because stuff that I'm explaining right now are sprinkled throughout most likely the very first season. So please, if you don't want to be spoiled, go to the timestamp. Okay? We gone? Alright. So, in the most recent arc that concluded in Gachiakuta, we've seen someone by the name of Follow essentially awaken into becoming a giver through two very interesting circumstances that we might see to line up. One, Follow came to a full realization of who he is, his actions, and his true feelings, and he was with Rudo, somebody with the Watchmen series, with a very interesting ability for the Watchmen series, which is able to turn anything into a vital instrument that Rudo's gloves, his main vital instrument, touches. And since Rudo still had the ability to create a vital instrument, it is implied that he had helped Follow awaken his pathways to utilizing his anima, thus unleashing his ability to become a giver, and thus him creating his vital instrument in that arc. Thus showing us our first character to ever become a giver in the heat of the moment. So that is one clear idea as to how someone can awaken their abilities to become a giver, but it seems like you might require someone with the Watchmen series, if now Rudo's specific Watchmen series gloves, to awaken to being a giver. But that is all just circumstantial. There's no guarantee that'll happen for multiple people ahead. Okay, spoiler stuff over, let's jump right into the next aspect of what makes these powers interesting. Now, there are more instances for a vital instrument and even categories for vital instruments that we have seen in the Gachiakuta universe that we need to get into. But first, a very important aspect that ends up tying into the strength and the longevity of your vital instrument in Gachiakuta is just the straight up quality. Like I mentioned previously, the amount of care you give to your object that ends up being your vital instrument plays a very big role into not only its power, but also just the full-on capabilities that it can possess and its longevity. You must give your vital instrument as much care and keep it, essentially have upkeep for it, to keep it in its as best condition as it possibly can. This increases the chance of your vital instrument not, well, breaking in the middle of a fight, but also strengthens that capability of the vital instrument. Now that's just the baseline quality and sturdiness of your vital instrument. The actual abilities do reflect a person's personality majority of the time, so that also plays a role. And that tends to be how the power awakens when a giver gives it its anima. The quality of a vital instrument is very important due to its longevity and its sturdiness, but the actual ability can in fact be somewhat strengthened by the very close connection that the item and the user have with the genuine care and affection that is given towards it. And obviously the abilities are a reflection many of the times of the emotions and mental state and just straight up personality and worldview of the giver that is giving power to their vital instrument. But there is an interesting addition to the upkeep and care to a vital instrument, which ends up falling into its own category, being the succession type vital instrument. And by the name, it is a vital instrument that is passed down through a particular line, through generations of givers. This allows the anima and thoughts of the previous wielders of these vital instruments to flow to these new wielders. And many of the time, it actually does, to an extent, help this person awaken to their giver abilities and utilize this succession type of vital instrument. And vital instruments like that are being passed down to the generations. This also adds in the strong chance that it will actually grow stronger and stronger to each giver, as the anima from one person, one giver, into this vital instrument thus gets passed down to the next one. It builds up strength, and also the quality of it, many of the times, is maintained, thus keeping the integrity of the vital instrument and showcasing the care that each giver gives to it, and the cumulative strength of each generation of givers with these types of vital instruments. But something that is incredibly interesting is that when someone ends up automatically using these succession type vital instruments, that implies that they are a natural born giver. By that, it is somebody who in an instant knows how to utilize their vital instrument the second they grab onto it. As like I mentioned previously, people who become givers tend to be people that give care to their objects and try to have a strong connection to it, in order to potentially unlock their anima and become givers. But natural givers are those that are highly capable of just using a vital instrument off rip, but a lot of times it is primarily with these succession type vital instruments. The main example is of the vital instrument pen that is passed down from spellcaster to spellcaster in Canvas Town, with the current spellcaster of Canvas Town, Remlin, getting the pen of their predecessor and automatically being able to utilize the abilities of their vital instrument. Now, these are incredibly rare types of vital instruments and givers, and as of right now, Remlin is really the only clear-cut example we can give when it comes to a succession type of vital instrument. Chances are I might be missing somebody, and if I am, that'll probably be a subject of an entirely different video. If not, manga readers, let me know in the comments section down below if I'm missing somebody. Now, in terms of the types of combat-oriented kind of vital instruments, there's always the attacker and the defender types of vital instruments. Attacker types, by the name of it, are vital instruments that essentially focus on actual combat and dealing damage. It can be hand-to-hand focus, it can be long-ranged. That tends to be how it is. It's very straightforward, nothing too over the top there. But if your vital instrument is indeed an attacker type, that also gives it the stronger possibility of it being damaged and potentially destroyed in battle, which again goes back to the upkeep and quality of your vital instrument so that that doesn't happen, or at the end of every fight you'll have to be sure to repair and just fix up your vital instrument if it is damaged after the fight. But there's also the defender type of vital instruments, which are primarily people who don't want their vital instruments to be destroyed or used in a somewhat combat-oriented way. This tends to give them non-combative roles when it comes to their abilities. Powers that are more supportive or can heal, etc. There's no real clear-cut just limitations at this point as to what attackers and even defenders can do with vital instruments. Again, depends on the person and their personality. A good example of a support-type healer would have to be Aisha Stilza, the resident healer of the cleaners, whose vital instrument is an electric cord that when she plugs it into something, she can use an electrical current to administer healing properties to people. This is done by using her own life force and using it as an electrical impulse to heal people's wounds and even their fractured bones. This is due to her baseline personality of wanting to help people and her inherent kindness. So that's how her vital instrument ended up becoming a healing type of vital instrument, and it being a cord goes back to her helping out and seeing her grandmother, who is a doctor, help people. So there is a whole thing with that, which could be part of a different video. Though in the instance of being fair, let's give an example of an attacker type of vital instrument, with the example being Jabberwonger's Mankira, which are very large claw-like vital instruments that have particular poisons in them. And a part of it is allowing Jabber to take in types of poison in order to mix things up and create different types of concoctions that he can use against his enemies. He can even grow these claws to be even larger to deal a massive amount of long-ranged and just a wider area of destruction. There's a bit more to go into with Jabber, but that's again a video in and of itself. But speaking of Jabber, this actually goes into the last section of what makes vital instruments so interesting, and that is the naming of your vital instrument. Now, when it comes to a giver awakening their vital instrument, typically when they awaken their vital instrument, a name is etched onto their object. And by doing this, this allows their vital instrument to be used at their essential peak of their power, their true abilities. But it's also possible for givers to hold back on giving power to their vital instruments by not adding a name, or even removing their name from their vital instrument, as the main causes for this are due to decrease the total size of the vital instrument, because many of the time with the amount of care and connection with the vital instrument, they could sometimes, once activated, be incredibly large. So taking the name off of your vital instrument could end up reducing its size as well as its power, so its abilities won't be as weaker, but it could just be easier to carry around or even use in battle. Jabber being my previous example, I'm going to use him again here. Jabber's awakened vital instrument's name is Mankira, but when he chooses many of the times to remove its name so it doesn't have its full extent of powers, because with how his personality is, he chooses to hold back a lot of time when it comes to a battle because he doesn't want his fights to be too easy. Which, when you see the full extent of what his vital instrument can do, you can understand why he'd want to make fights a lot more interesting so it doesn't end them too quickly by just erasing the name that gives his vital instruments power. But there is one clear reason as to why many givers do actually choose to hold back on giving their vital instruments names, and a lot of times that is due to the potential recoil that giving a name onto your vital instrument can have when its powers are amplified to such an extreme degree by doing so, as that is technically engraving parts of your soul into your vital instrument in a sense to make it grow more powerful. As we see, and again in a very recent chapter, but I won't give you the context, but the character of Semu Greer's has the vital instrument that is called Eyes. And if she does end up engraving the name onto her glasses, which are her vital instrument, it could potentially make her go blind, using it for the full extent of its power if she uses it for too long. So there is subsequent risk to some vital instruments when they are being used a lot of the time. But it depends on the vital instrument and, like I've stated previously, placing names on the vital instruments as well. Now, there is also the subconscious holding back of giving a vital instrument a name, which the only real example we have right now is of Amo, as her vital instrument boots do not have a name engraved onto them. And the explanation for that is most likely the case that for a long time, due to her circumstances, which I am not going to spoil in this video, that's, again, a video focused entirely on Amo, and that's going to be adapted into the anime, for a long time she's hidden her true feelings in order to survive, thus giving a proper name to her vital instruments once awakening to her giver abilities was never a case. So the true and full capabilities of her vital instruments are still very much an unknown until she gives a proper name to her boots. Now, one final piece of information I want to leave you guys off with in regards to the vital instrument power system, giver power system of Gachiakuta, is that it embodies the square theme that nothing is useless, that everything has a purpose, everything can be used. There is no real such thing as trash. Any person or object has its value. Thus, why the main character of Rudo has his specific abilities, and why any item that somebody has a connection to can become a powerful weapon once they awaken into a giver. It ties right into one of the core main themes of Gachiakuta, and that's a main reason why his power system is so unique. It's why the shape of the vital instrument at many a time reflects the person's personality and who they are. It's why a name on a vital instrument can showcase its true power or could end up being removed to avoid any circumstances or recoil from the sheer intensity of these emotions. And the variety and utilization of these particular vital instruments once they are released and used is dependent on the person, thus allowing a ton of creativity when it comes to crafting this power system in any and all vital instruments that we will see in the future of Gachiakuta. And many a time it is very much amplified by the astonishing and great artwork that is given to us by the mangaka Keiorana, who has just insane talent, and I love her art style. It is so unique amongst many mangaka, especially new gen mangaka right now, and that's probably what makes Gachiakuta stick out a lot more in comparison to other series. But that's all the information you need to know about vital instruments, and to an extent the givers that give these vital instruments their powers. What did you guys think of this video? Was this helpful? Would you like me to keep doing videos like this in regards to Gachiakuta going forward, alongside what I have planned? Let me know in the comments below, as well as let me know if, by the time this video comes out, the anime might be out, if you're enjoying the anime, or if you're excited about the anime for Gachiakuta. Let me know. And what's more, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.